everyone, it's Haley, and today I'm going to be doing my guide to Shakespeare. So this video has been requested a lot from you guys, and I'm finally getting around to doing it, so yay! I was putting it off a little bit because I wanted to wait until I had taken at least one of my 2 Shakespeare courses. So now that that has happened, I feel like I have read enough to be able to give you guys some good advice on how to get into Shakespeare. So basically what I'm going to be doing is, whether you want to read Shakespeare for fun or you're reading it for school, I'm going to be giving you guys my tips and tricks on how to read Shakespeare. So I'm going to give you some tools you can use and some ways that you can read it that are really easy, and just kind of some things to facilitate your learning or your reading experience as well. And I'm also going to be telling you guys which plays I have read and which are my favorite and all of that stuff. So without further ado, let's get into it. So I'm going to start off by talking about the tools that I use and find help me to read Shakespeare. So I'm going to start off by talking about the books that I like. So you can find Shakespeare's plays basically everywhere, his sonnets too. You can find all of his work anywhere online because there's no copyright on it anymore. So you can find all of that stuff. It is so easily accessible, and it's just, you can find it. It's really not that hard to find it. But it really is helpful to have a good text that has some good notes in the margins, so then you really understand what's going on, because Shakespeare is really intimidating. He's not speaking in English as you know it. He's using this language that you're really not familiar with, but you're slightly familiar with, so it kind of puts you out of your comfort zone. So it's really important to have a text that has really good notes. So a few of my favorites are, I really like the Arden edition Shakespeare's. These go through kind of every separate edition of Shakespeare and like tell you the changes that have been made for some of the words, if it's different in a different edition, and the notes on the bottom of the page are really helpful. They're always very thorough, and you can tell that the editor really took a lot of care in doing this. I would recommend this text especially if you are reading it for academic purposes, because it does give you a lot of the information that professors or teachers will be kind of touching upon in their lectures, so I think those would be really helpful for that. Another one of my personal favorites is the Folger Shakespeare Library editions. The only problem with these is they don't all come in this nice edition. Only the most popular plays come in this edition right now. The other ones come in mass market paperback, which isn't really my favorite, but I really like these ones. They have like a nice paper, a nice feel to it, and the notes are really good. And what they do is they have the at the beginning of each scene, they have a summary of what is going to happen in the scene, and then they have the actual text on the side, and then the notes are right beside it. So it's a really easy reading experience. You can look at the notes, but also be following along with the text. So it makes it for a really comfortable experience. But if you don't want to buy all of the plays separately, there are a lot of the complete works of William Shakespeare editions that are really great. These, for the most part, I don't think have any annotations on them though, so they won't have any commentary or notes that will help you along as you're reading. This one is the Barnes & Noble edition, and I think it is just so pretty. I really, really love it. It has like gold pages. It's just a really nice book, and it has all the plays, all the sonnets, all the long poems, all that stuff in here, and I really like this long edition. They're all in chronological order since they don't actually know the order, but they're in a sort of chronological order. In the last text that I wanted to talk about, I'm sure you guys are all familiar with. These are really popular, and for good reason. They're really, really helpful, and that is the No Fear Shakespeare by SparkNotes. These are seriously awesome. They helped me so much, especially in high school when I was first starting to read Shakespeare, because what they do is they have the actual text on the one side right here, and then on the other side they have a modern translation. So what I would do when I was reading these is I would read the scene in the modern English, and then I would read it in the Shakespearean, because then like I kind of know what's happening, and it would help me to start understanding the language and being able to like pick out certain words that meant a certain thing, because I would know because I had already read the English edition. So it's really, really helpful. They are awesome, I think, especially for high school students. And I know that sometimes like you might feel like you're stupid for bringing these, at least least I did when I was bringing it to university. But I mean, no one can just understand Shakespeare unless you're literally a professor and a Shakespeare scholar. We're all learning, so I don't think there's anything wrong, no shame in using these texts because they are so helpful, and whatever helps your learning, more power to you. So now I wanted to talk about some multimedia tools that I use when I read Shakespeare, and this is going to be kind of segueing into how I read Shakespeare. So I have gone through countless methods of reading Shakespeare. Like, I've just tried so many different things, but this is the way that I have found works the best. For me personally, what I do is I will listen to an audiobook as I follow along with the text, but I will only listen to the audiobook after I have taken notes on SparkNotes. I will just jot down some notes from the summary, I'll jot down notes from the characters, because then I have an idea of what's going to happen and I can understand the text better and I know the characters and everything. I just find it really helpful to have some previous knowledge of the play and what is going to happen before I actually get into the text, because it just really helps me to pick out the things that I'm supposed to be noticing. So anything like SparkNotes, Schmoop, Grade Saver, Cliff Notes, all of those things, they are super helpful and definitely use them. Those are tools that are there to help your learning, so why just let them sit there? Just use them. It's honestly very helpful. Now the audiobooks that I like are the Archangel Shakespeare editions. They're really awesome. They have some really great narrators and each character has a different voice, because I've heard some that are like the same characters have all the the same person does all of the characters, and that just ends up being confusing. But I really like listening to ones where there's a different voice for every character. And these Archangel Shakespeare editions are my absolute favorite. They are fantastic. Some of them have David Tennant in it. Like, they have some really great readers, and there's some like sound effects. It's just really, really cool. But if you can't buy an audiobook, I actually get those from my library. So if your library doesn't carry them, LibriVox is a really great app that you can use that will have it's basically any work that, like any classic that the copyright is up, they have these volunteers who will read the audiobook. So there are sometimes some errors, not too often in the Shakespeare ones I find, but in some of them there are a few errors. But they have an audiobook for basically every single Shakespeare text and any classic text you can think of, and they're really good audiobooks most of the time. It's just really nice to have an audiobook because Shakespeare is meant to be heard, not really read, so it's meant to be watched to be heard, so I find it really helpful to listen to an audiobook. And if you can't find the time, like I'll go like an act a day, but if you can't find the time to listen to an audiobook and you're just gonna sit down and watch a movie, at least make sure that it's an unabridged like production of the play and you're actually seeing the play and not like some Hollywood rendition. And I was for a while watching productions of the play. I was watching the BBC complete works of Shakespeare. I was watching those while I would follow along in the text, but honestly I fell asleep so many times. Like, those are from like the 80s or the 70s or something, and they're just not good, so I do not recommend that. And before you get frustrated that you're not understanding the text, one, understand that practice makes perfect. It honestly has taken me a really long time to be able to understand Shakespeare, and I don't even fully understand it, and I've been studying it for a really long time. But another thing is just Google stuff. There's no shame in Googling something if you don't understand it. Just do your best, keep on trying, and don't give up, because Shakespeare's really awesome. I love him. So now I'm going to get into the text that I've read. So as far as for school, I've read Romeo and Juliet twice, Hamlet, Macbeth, The Merchant of Venice twice as well, Measure for Measure, The Two Gentlemen of Verona, King Lear, The Taming of the Shrew, and Titus Andronicus. I think I got all of them. So those are the ones that I have read for school, but as far as for fun, I have read Othello, was the very first one that I read for fun, and I really enjoyed that one. And I read The Tempest, A Midsummer Night's Dream, and As You Like It. I haven't had a lot of time to read Shakespeare for fun, but I do plan on reading all of the stuff he's written, so I will get to it. Now you'll notice that I haven't touched any of the histories. They're never assigned in school, and they just require so much like previous knowledge that I haven't had the energy or the time to read them yet, so I will get to them eventually, but I just haven't yet. And I've kind of found that I tend to prefer comedies rather than tragedies. I don't know why, it's just something I do. Like, I like when the comedies are like fanciful and really fun. So on that note, my top 3 favorite comedies, number 1 is definitely A Midsummer Night's Dream. That is my absolute favorite Shakespeare play. As You Like It is my second favorite. I saw that one performed at the Globe in London last year and I absolutely adored it. I really love that play. And number 3, it's either The Merchant of Venice or The Tempest. I think it's The Merchant of Venice, but it's one of those things where like The Merchant of Venice is technically a comedy, but it's a problem comedy, so I don't really know, but they're kind of tied. As far as my top 3 favorite tragedies, number 1 is Romeo and Juliet. I think that one is just a classic and just the language in it is absolutely beautiful and everyone loves that one for a reason. Number 2 is Titus Andronicus. That one is just super messed up, but I found it really enjoyable. And number 3 is Othello. I haven't read Hamlet or Macbeth in a really long time, so I can't really remember if I liked them, so I will be giving them a reread soon. But King Lear I read recently and I was honestly expecting to enjoy it so much more than I ended up actually liking it, so that one was a little bit disappointing. I thought that one would make this list, but whatever. So yeah, that is all for today's video. I hope you guys found this helpful. Let me know if you have read any Shakespeare or if you guys are planning to, your favorite plays, all of that good stuff about Shakespeare. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!